She unknowingly shared her heart with a stranger only to discover he was her millionaire boss. The diner was alive with the clattering of plates and the rich aroma of coffee that mingled with sizzling bacon. Emma, a dedicated waitress in the small Midwestern town of Greenfield, rushed from table to table, juggling orders while stealing glances at her watch. Each minute spent in the bustling diner felt like a precious fraction of time she couldn't afford to waste. Single motherhood weighed heavy on her heart, especially as she worried about her aging mother's declining health and the pressure of providing for her young son, Tommy. Moments of connection were rare but vital. They fueled her spirit amidst the chaos that it was an ordinary Tuesday, but as she served coffee to her loyal regulars, the door swung open with a clatter, and in walked a stranger. Jack had a comforting presence, like a sunset spilling colors across the walls of the diner. He flashed a warm smile that seemed to throw the routine into a soft focus lens. There was something about him, a magnetism that stirred curiosity deep within her. As Emma poured his coffee, their eyes met for the briefest moment, igniting an unspoken invitation to connect. "Thank you," he said, laughter dancing in his voice as he glanced around. "This place has the best coffee in town." "I can tell already." Emma chuckled and felt a tentative smile tug at her lips. It was the kind of moment where time bent, where burdens cashed out for a breath of air. As the morning rolled on, Emma found herself returning to Jack's table, drawn to the captivating spark of their conversations. He listened intently as she recounted tales of the town, the struggles of balancing work and family, and the bittersweet fears of losing her mother. With each word, layers of herself peeled back, exposing the raw edges of her heart. Emma didn't hold back, sharing stories that lingered in her throat like heavy stones. Jack's presence was a refuge, a light cutting through her worries. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. But life took a sudden turn one day when Emma's mother fell gravely ill, leaving her words a jumbled mess in a storm of panic and despair. The healthcare world felt like an exclusive club, thriving on the backs of those with means. Emma's strength threatened to crumble under the weight of unrelenting responsibility, the haunting question of worth echoing in her mind. That evening, as the twilight shimmered outside, she posted an open invitation for Jack to sit at the counter. "Can I be real with you for a second?" she asked, her chest tight. Jack leaned in, his brow furrowing in concern as she shared her heart, the struggles, the dreams, and the fight growing dim. His gaze held a respectful admiration that simultaneously shook her to her core. Just as hope began to flicker, the revelation of his identity shattered any thought of solace. The millionaire sitting across from her was destined to reshape her community, and her connection with him was now draped in awkward tension. As those moments filled with empathy and vulnerability collided with shocking reality, Emma faced an agonizing choice. Would she allow this fragile friendship to break through societal barriers or retreat back into the shadows of her marked life? In that breathless silence, a single question hung between them: could Jack's admiration for her extraordinary spirit change everything forever? The tension between Emma and Jack crackled like static in the air. She could hardly breathe, every heartbeat loud in her ears. Did she really just confess her soul to a man who could change everything about her life? What did he think of her now? Would he see her as a single mother drowning in debt, or as the resilient fighter she daily strove to be? Jack's eyes softened as he took in her vulnerability. "Emma," he began, but the words caught in his throat. There was a genuine concern there, a warmth she hadn't fully expected from someone so evidently affluent and powerful. It was a humbling mix of fear and hope swirling within her, battling for dominance. Before she could brace herself for what might come next, he leaned forward. "You're right to be real. This town needs people like you, and it needs more places like this diner to thrive." His voice held a sincerity that made her heart flutter. Despite the heaviness of the moment, Emma felt a glimmer of hope flicker alive, a possibility that maybe, just maybe, Jack could be someone who would understand her struggles. The awkwardness was palpable, and yet, the depth of their connection felt undeniable. "Listen, there could be ways I can help," Jack continued cautiously, glancing at their surroundings. "I know I'm not just some guy in a suit, but if you've got ideas for the community, ideas that could give you more time with Tommy, I want to hear them." The sudden shift left her reeling. Ideas? Help? She thought about the local after-school programs that desperately needed funding. She thought of her mother's medical bills. But did she want to invite Jack into her world like that? Was it wise to trust a man whose life seemed so far removed from her own? "Why?" Emma asked, her voice a strained whisper. "Why would you want to help me? You have everything, don't you?" "I just have a struggle." Jack tilted his head, and his expression shifted from concern to something deeper, more sincere. "Because everyone deserves a chance, and your spirit, it's incredible. You deserve to fight for more than just survival. You deserve a shot at happiness." She felt a warmth flush through her, battling the doubt that whispered in her mind. Could she dare to believe that she deserved more? Just when she thought they were on the brink of something important, the door swung open again, the familiar jingle ringing across the diner. A group of noisy customers barged in, forcing Emma to break their moment. As she returned to her tasks, thoughts swirled in her mind like scattered leaves caught in a whirlwind. Jack remained at the counter, watching her, his gaze unwavering. He was someone who saw her, truly saw her, in a way that no one had for a long time. But his offer, while tempting, felt like a dangerous step off the edge of a cliff. She could either dive into the deep end with him or pull back and keep her distance, maintaining the fragile structure of her already complicated world. The noise in the diner faded as she contemplated where this fragile new path with Jack could lead. Could she open herself to him, to his help, despite the fear of what it could mean for her and Tommy? As Emma wiped down a nearby table, she cast a quick glance at Jack. That hopeful essence shimmered in his gaze, assuring her that he was sincere. But as realities of her current situation loomed large, a startling thought hit her. What if Jack was her ticket to a better life, but at the cost of her heart? With her thoughts in disarray, the decision loomed larger than life itself. "Emma?" Jack's voice cut through her thoughts. "Are you okay?" At that moment, she realized it wasn't just a question about her well-being. It was about everything they could possibly build together. The tension returned with a vengeance, and she felt the churning of excitement and fear twist together in a turmoil of uncertainty. She drew a deep breath, feeling both small and powerful. That it was time to choose. Would she trust him enough to share more of herself, or leave the conversation hanging somewhere between what could be and what already was? She swallowed hard, ready to answer his question, unsure of which path she would embrace. "Jack, but before she could finish, the sudden phone call chimed through her pocket, cutting through the charged air. Just as she fished for the ringing phone, a sinking feeling washed over her. Who could it be? Was it news about her mother? Or the call that would further determine the course of her life? Emma felt her heart stutter. Would her answer to Jack evolve or become irrelevant in the face of reality before her? The moment of choice slipped further away, leaving her torn and grasping for certainty in a world that offered anything but. Emma's fingers trembled as she pulled the phone from her pocket, glancing at the caller ID. It was Tommy's school. Her stomach lurched. She had hoped for good news, but the tightening in her chest warned her otherwise. "Hello?" She answered, her voice steadier than she felt. "Hi, Emma. It's Mrs. Sanders from Maplewood Academy." The principal's voice was calm, but the crack in it made Emma's heart race. "I'm calling about Tommy. He's been involved in a little incident. I think it's best if you come down to the school." A wave of panic washed over Emma. "What kind of incident?" "There was a fight during recess. We need to discuss how it was handled and a plan moving forward." A lump formed in her throat. Tommy? Fighting? She remembered his small fists, the way he would playfully swing them during their games. This didn't match the image of the sweet, shy boy she knew. "Is he hurt?" "No, not physically. Just some bruised feelings and a need for intervention." The principal's tone was reassuring, yet the underlying current of concern sent a cold chill down Emma's spine. "All right, I'll be right there," she said, her mind racing through possibilities. Was he defending someone? Or was he the one who needed defending? She hung up and looked at Jack, who still sat at the counter, concern dancing in his eyes. I have to go. Something else happened with Tommy. Is it serious?" Jack rose to his feet, his demeanor shifting from casual to intense in an instant. Emma could see the worry etching into his features. "I don't know. I just need to get to the school. Let me drive you." "You shouldn't go alone." Emma hesitated. She didn't want to lean on him, but the urgency of the situation gnawed at her. This wasn't just about her, it was about Tommy. She needed to act quickly. "Okay," she finally said, nodding as a fresh wave of anxiety tightened her stomach. In a flurry, they stepped outside. Jack opened the passenger door for her with a grace that made her appreciate this unexpected side of him. She climbed in, and they drove through the shaded streets, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken words. "Do you think he's in trouble?" Jack asked as they pulled closer to the school. "I don't know," she confessed. "Tommy's usually reserved. He doesn't like conflict." "Kids can surprise you," he said quietly, glancing sideways at her, especially when they're trying to protect someone. The warmth of his words wrapped around her, but it was quickly eclipsed by the photos of past moments flashing through her head. Each snapshot reminded her of a boy who yearned to fit in but often felt out of place. As they parked, Emma's heart raced, and she pulled in a deep breath. "Thank you for coming with me." "Of course. I'm here for you." His sincerity cut through her anxiety just a little. They rushed inside, and the front office was abuzz with anxious parents and distracted children. Emma's stomach churned with each step, the air thick with uncertainty. Mrs. Sanders was waiting in her office, her eyes serious. Emma's instinct kicked in. She realized her battle wasn't just for Tommy's happiness, it was for his future. "Remember," Jack whispered as Emma steeled herself at the door. "You've got this." She blinked at him, gratitude already filling her heart. Just as the door swung open, the gravity of Emma's circumstances crashed over her. Could she balance this newfound connection with Jack while navigating the turmoil waiting for her inside? "Come in, Emma," Mrs. Sanders beckoned. As she stepped inside, the tension weighed heavy. Would she discover what lay at the heart of Tommy's actions? Or would she find answers that only raised more questions? The moment hung delicately before her, and Emma, determined but frightened, stepped into the unknown, ready to confront whatever awaited her. And in the shadows of that small office, another revelation whispered in her mind. What kind of help was she really ready to accept, not just for Tommy, but for herself too? The room felt stuffy, the air thick with tension and unspoken worries. As Emma walked in, she caught sight of Tommy sitting quietly, his small hands fidgeting in his lap. He looked up, and their eyes met. In that instant, she saw a mixture of fear and shame in his gaze. "Tommy," she said, her voice gentle, trying to bridge the widening gap between them. He offered her a small, hesitant smile, the one that always made her heart swell, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Hi, Mom," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mrs. Sanders cleared her throat, breaking the silence that felt almost suffocating. "Thank you for coming, Emma. We're here because we need to discuss what happened today during recess." Emma nodded, her hands beginning to shake again as anxiety crept back in. She wanted to comfort Tommy, to reassure him, but she also needed to understand what led him to this moment. "Can you tell me what happened, sweetie?" Tommy shifted in his seat, avoiding eye contact. "I didn't start it, but I didn't stop it either." Each word felt like a heavy weight as he spoke, the shame of his admission saturating the air. "Details, Tommy," Mrs. Sanders prompted gently. "We need to know how this escalated." With a deep breath, Tommy started to recount the events. A group of kids had been teasing a younger student. At first, he just watched, heart racing, torn between standing up and staying invisible. But then, when the teasing crossed a line, he stepped in. I told them to stop but they didn't listen. And then? Emma encouraged, feeling her own heart break for her son. I pushed one of them, he admitted, looking down at his hands, shame rolling off him in waves. I just got so mad. I didn't want anyone to be hurt. Mrs. Sanders nodded, her expression softening. Tommy is not a problem child. He's a protector. But sometimes, that can lead to trouble. We need to work together to find a better way for him to express that. Emma turned to her son, pride swelling within her. You were brave to stand up for someone, Tommy. But fighting isn't the answer. We can find ways to help you be that protector without putting yourself in harm's way. I wanted to help, he mumbled, tears pooling in his eyes. But now I'm in trouble. Hey, you're not in trouble, Emma assured him, leaning forward. We'll figure this out together. I promise you. Jack, who had been silently observing from the back, stepped forward now. You did the right thing by trying to help someone in need, Tommy. We can work on ways to handle it better next time, how to voice yourself without resorting to physical action. Emma was surprised at how natural his words felt. Tommy looked between them, hope glimmering faintly in his eyes. Will I get in trouble? No, but there will be some consequences, Mrs. Sanders replied. We'll need to have a plan for what happens next. Support and understanding are key. With that, Emma began to feel the weight shift a little. They were all in this together. Each person in that room wanted the best for Tommy, even in these rough moments, but as they continued discussing the next steps and potential support systems for Tommy, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this would challenge not only her relationship with her son but her own sense of control. Jack glanced at her, his eyes questioning and warm. For a fleeting moment, she felt a connection, a bond forming in adversity. What if she could open up to him as well? As the meeting wrapped up, Mrs. Sanders asked them to think about follow-up sessions. Emma nodded absently, her mind racing. Could she trust Jack's guidance? Or would accepting help only complicate things further? Let us take the next right step together, Jack murmured quietly to her as they left the office. Emma didn't answer right away. Instead, she took a deep breath, feeling torn between relief and the unknown. Could she trust herself enough to let someone in? And as they walked out, a question loomed in the distance. How deep would her journey into trusting others go, especially when it meant allowing herself to be vulnerable? As they exited the school building, the sun cast a golden light, but the warmth did little to chase away the chill of uncertainty Emma felt. She glanced over at Jack, who was walking beside her, and wondered how something so simple as a conversation could spark such conflict within. Thanks for your words in there, she said, wanting to express her gratitude, but unsure how to articulate the growing apprehension about their situation. He nodded, his expression calm but intense. I meant what I said, he replied. You're doing well by Tommy. It takes a lot of courage to show up like that, especially when it's messy. Emma felt a flicker of appreciation mixed with discomfort. How could he see through her facade so clearly yet remain a stranger? She didn't know what to say next, so they walked in silence, the air growing thicker, both of them lost in their thoughts. That a few blocks from the school, they reached a small park. The laughter of children playing in the distance rang in her ears, amplifying the knot in her stomach. She hesitated, feeling the urge to sit on a nearby bench and gather her thoughts. Do you want to take a moment? Jack asked, sensing her unease. It's okay if you do. Sometimes stepping back feels necessary when things feel overwhelming. Emma nodded, relieved he understood. They sat down, and she let out a small sigh. I'm just trying to process everything, she admitted, feeling the tension begin to ease just a bit. I never imagined I'd be dealing with school conflicts already. It's tough, he replied, leaning forward, elbows resting on his knees. I've seen a lot of parents struggle with this. Kids have a way of pushing our buttons, don't they? She chuckled softly, relaxing a little more. Unexpectedly, yes. Who knew parenting could be this complicated at times? A comfortable quiet wrapped around them, broken only by the distant sounds of laughter. A few moments passed before Jack spoke again, softer this time. You know, I appreciate you opening up. It can't be easy, especially right now. Emma glanced at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. I guess I haven't let many people in since everything, she confessed, her throat tightening as memories swirled. Divorce is just such a whirlwind. He nodded, his gaze steady. It takes time to trust again. You're not alone in that. I've been there myself. Something about his openness drew her in. Really? What happened? Jack hesitated but then opened up. I took a leap to follow my career, thinking it would lead to happiness. But it also distanced me from people I cared about. I learned the hard way that success means little without genuine connections. Emma felt an unexpected connection starting to form. His honesty resonated with her own struggles, breaking through the initial wall she had built around her heart. Maybe we're both still figuring it out, she said quietly, feeling vulnerable yet safe. The sun dipped lower, casting shadows across the park, and she could sense the distance between them closing just a bit. As they sat there, lost in conversation and shared experiences, Tommy's earlier conflict hovered in Emma's mind. I just hope I'm able to guide Tommy better moving forward. He deserves more than just a mom worried about mistakes. You're a good mom, Emma, Jack assured her, his tone firm. You care, and that means the world. It's about progress, not perfection. She couldn't help but smile at that. Maybe she could lean on him for support after all. But just then, a group of children ran past, laughter ringing out, and Tommy's pained expression flashed in her mind again. Emma's heart sank as the worry returned. But how do I actually help him? Jack's eyes softened, filled with understanding. Together, we can create a plan. But let us take this one step at a time, all right? As Emma contemplated those words, she felt a spark of hope. Maybe trusting someone wasn't so terrible after all. But just as quickly, a thought flashed through her mind. Was she inviting trouble by letting him in? A decision loomed ahead, one that could change everything. Would she embrace this connection, or pull back into her shell? The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving a lingering sense of anticipation, as new questions formed. What would it take for Emma to truly trust again? How close could she let Jack come without fearing the fallout? The park was slowly emptying as more parents began to collect their children, but Emma stayed seated, the weight of her thoughts keeping her rooted to the bench. Jack remained beside her, a comforting presence despite the tension still lingering in the air. Can I ask you something personal? Emma said suddenly, the words tumbling out before she could rationalize them. The flicker of curiosity lit Jack's eyes as he nodded. Of course, he replied softly, encouraging her to go on. Why did you decide to help me and Tommy? She ventured, her heart racing. You barely know us. What's in it for you? Jack's gaze turned contemplative. He ran a hand through his hair before answering. It's not about what I can get from it. Truthfully, it's because I see a lot of my own past in your situation. When I went through a rough patch, it was the people I didn't expect that lifted me. I guess I want to pay that forward. His honesty struck her deeply, a small spark igniting in her chest. I admire that, she said, her voice trembling. But it's still hard for me to accept help. I always feel like I should handle everything solo. I totally get that, he replied, his tone gentle but firm. But nobody's meant to carry that weight alone. Sometimes letting someone in can lead to the most unexpected blessings. The sincerity in his words resonated within her, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt the tight grip of isolation loosening. As they spoke, she could imagine the walls she had built around herself slowly crumbling. Did she really have to do this all by herself? Just then, a little girl ran past them with a kite, her laughter bursting like bubbles in the air. Emma's heart ached for the innocence of childhood, a stark contrast to the complex world she and Tommy faced. What about you? Do you have family? She asked, hoping to draw him out, feeling a daring sense of curiosity blooming. Jack hesitated for a moment, a shadow crossing his features. I used to. My family's not exactly conventional. We've drifted apart over the years. So it's just me now. Emma noticed a flicker of sadness in his eyes, one that he tried to mask quickly. I'm sorry, she murmured, realizing the bond they were forging was layered with personal struggles. It's all right. I've made my choices, he replied, a hint of bravado in his voice. But I've learned that connections can be rebuilt, even if they take time. At that moment, Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket, jolting her thoughts back to reality. She reached to check it, the notification blaring with reminders of responsibility. Tommy's school project, then a missed call from her lawyer. Fear gripped her anew, the struggle to balance her new life crashing down hard. Is everything okay? Jack asked, concern etching his features. Just juggling, she replied with a weak smile, but the tension in her stomach returned. Life is just a bit overwhelming right now. I can help where I can, he offered, but Emma hesitated, suddenly feeling the weight of his offer resting heavy on her shoulders. Would she really be able to let him step into her chaotic world? The horizon was now painted in hues of purple and orange, the day transitioning to night. The glow of the setting sun cast long shadows, mimicking the doubts creeping back in Emma's heart. Can we take this slow? She found herself saying, surprised at her own vulnerability. I'm still a bit unsure about everything. Of course, Jack said, his eyes softening further. There's no rush. We'll figure it out, step by step. Just then, a flicker of determination sparked within Emma. Maybe she could face this journey together with him, allowing a new path to unfold. Step by step, she repeated, letting the words settle in her heart, but as they sat in the twilight, another thought nagged persistently at her. Could she genuinely open her heart to this stranger without fearing the hurt that might come when he leaves? That question hung heavily in the air, unresolved. And somehow, it made her wonder, was there more she didn't know about him? The cool evening breeze curled around Emma and Jack, a whisper of the changing season that seemed to reflect the shifts happening within Emma herself. The park had emptied, and the sounds of distant laughter faded into the background, leaving an echo of silence that wrapped around them like a familiar blanket. I know it's complicated, Jack said, breaking the silence. His voice was as steady as ever. But you have to trust that it's okay to lean on someone else. Emma looked at him, noticing how the fading light caught the edges of his jaw, making him appear softer, almost vulnerable. I mean, if you want to, of course. No pressure. Emma picked at a frayed thread on her jeans, a habit she was struggling to shake. It's just. I've always been the one taking care of everything. It feels like I'm letting Tommy down if I admit I can't do it all. The words hung heavy between them, revealing a side of her that went beyond mere exhaustion. Tommy loves you. Jack's reply came firm, as if he believed it wholly. Trust me, he sees how hard you try every day. Kids can sense when their parents are struggling, but they also notice when they're being genuine. You showing vulnerability might be the best gift you can give him. Her heart twisted. But what if I'm not enough? What if my struggles drag him down? Emma, being enough isn't about never making mistakes. It's about being real. Isn't that what you want for him? A chance to be real, to feel supported? Jack's eyes gleamed with understanding, a light that made her want to lean closer. A moment of silence drifted between them, filled with unspoken words. She realized Jack wasn't just another person, he was a beacon, a promise that things could look different. She wanted to believe him, but the safety of her solitude was so hard to let go. Can we get some hot chocolate or something? She blurted out, a sudden urge to shift the heaviness hanging over them. I could really use a small escape from everything. Jack's face brightened, and Emma felt a rush of warmth at his enthusiasm. Definitely. There's this little cafe a block away. They make the best hot chocolate in the city. As they stood to leave, the weight in Emma's chest eased, just a little. She hugged her arms around herself, both as a shield and a comfort. Maybe the world wouldn't crumble if she let someone in, at least for a moment. They walked along the cobblestone path, the last bits of sunlight bouncing off the buildings, casting a golden hue over the city. Jack shared stories about his childhood, about reckless adventures with his friends that made Emma laugh despite herself. The laughter felt foreign but welcoming. When they finally reached the cafe, the scent of fresh cocoa and baked goods wrapped around them, almost as enticing as the warmth emanating from within. 2 hot chocolates, please. Jack ordered, grinning at Emma like a kid excited for a treat. Extra whipped cream. She added, surprised at her own boldness and relishing the brief escape from reality. As they found a cozy corner by the window, Jack leaned forward, a curious glint in his eyes. So, how do you feel about taking things slow? Maybe in a new place? Emma bit her lip, her heart racing. Did she really want to open up more? Or was it safer to retreat back into what she knew, even if it was suffocating? The uneasiness inside her battled against the lightness of their conversations. Just then, as Jack's laughter filled the small cafe, she realized she had a decision to make. With a sudden determination, she looked up at him, gathering her thoughts, ready to step forward into the unknown. Let us keep talking about us. But can I ask one more thing? What if I need to know more about you first? Just as she spoke, a rush of uncertainty washed over her. Jack's expression shifted, interest peaking. Sure, what do you want to know? In that moment, the cafe's warm glow felt like the threshold to a new beginning, but the real question lingered in the back of her mind. How much had Jack truly opened up? And would she be ready for whatever revelations he might reveal? Emma leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. Jack's question opened up a whole new world of possibilities, and she felt a sudden rush of vulnerability wash over her. What did she even want to know? There was so much about him that intrigued her. Let us see, she started, glancing out the window where the evening sky transformed into deep shades of violet and blue. What do you do when you're not working? I mean, what makes you you? Jack smiled, his gaze steady and inviting. That's a good question. I love hiking, spending time outdoors. There's this trail near the city that I try to hit every weekend. It's my escape. His words painted a vivid picture, and she could almost feel the crunch of leaves beneath their feet and the crispness of mountain air. Emma yearned for that sense of freedom. I bet it's beautiful. I haven't gone hiking in ages. Just being with nature sounds refreshing. It really is. You should come sometime, he said, his tone casual, but the implied invitation sent a flutter in her chest. She shifted, a mix of excitement and dread bubbling within her. We'll see, she replied, trying to maintain a sense of composure. Jack took a sip of his hot chocolate, and she admired how the steam curled around his face, giving him an almost ethereal glow. What about you? Besides taking care of Tommy? Emma hesitated, the walls she had built tightly around her. I used to paint. It was my way of expressing things I couldn't say. But when Tommy came along, life just took over. It's like I left that part of myself behind. The admission fell from her lips before she even realized how deeply it would unveil her. Jack's expression softened, his eyes glimmering with understanding. You should pick it back up. Art has a way of freeing you, doesn't it? It's important to have that outlet, especially when you feel, I don't know, overwhelmed? Emma nodded slowly, feeling a connection building between them that felt electric. Yeah, it really is. But sometimes it feels selfish to take time for myself. It's not selfish at all. It's necessary, he countered. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take it from someone who has learned the hard way. His words lingered in the air, a gentle push toward a truth she knew but hadn't embraced. Tell me more about that hard way, she challenged softly, leaning forward, curiosity igniting within her. Jack looked pensive, his mouth forming a tight line as if deciding how much to share. And in that moment, she realized that his vulnerability mirrored hers. All right, since you've shared about painting, I'll give you a glimpse, he finally said, uncrossing his arms. I grew up in a family that prioritized success above all else. When I took a risk to pursue my own passions, they didn't take it well. It made me realize just how important it is to find your own path, even if it's not what others expect of you. The shared intimacy of their stories wrapped around them, and Emma felt lighter. The more he revealed, the easier it was to share her own fears, her own dreams. But then, like the other shoe dropping, a thought struck her. So, does this mean you're successful now? Jack raised an eyebrow, a slight smile flickering. You could say that. What do you mean by that? Just as his expression shifted, a distraction blurred the warmth of their connection. A loud crash came from the cafe counter as a tray filled with coffee cups toppled over. Emma startled, looking toward the chaos, her heart racing. As staff rushed to clean the mess, she turned back to Jack, but his eyes had darkened slightly, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his features. Was there more to him than met the eye? As the cafe noise settled back to its normal hum, she realized she wanted to break down those walls together. But how far would Jack go in revealing who he truly was? And what would it mean for her if the truth bore more weight than she was ready to carry? Emma leaned back, caught in the whirlwind of a moment that felt both thrilling and terrifying. Jack had offered a glimpse into his soul, yet the distant shadows in his expression hinted at more stories left untold. Did she dare push for deeper truths when her own felt so fragile? Hey, we can always talk about something different, Jack suggested, a playful grin breaking his serious demeanor. How about your favorite movies? I'm a sucker for a good film night. That lightness was refreshing. Well, I can binge-watch romantic comedies like nobody's business. They're the perfect escape. She laughed, imagining cozy nights wrapped in blankets. And I can always count on a happy ending. Happy endings are nice, he replied thoughtfully. But sometimes the best stories come from the unexpected twists, don't you think? His words taunted her emotions, prodding gently at the rawness of her reality. Twists like? She asked, her voice trailing off. Like falling in love with someone you never expected, he responded, his gaze locking onto hers, compelling and earnest. That simple statement sent a shiver down her spine. Emma shifted in her seat, pressing her lips together, aware of the undeniable chemistry brewing between them. I haven't experienced that in a long time. The vulnerability in her words hung between them like fragile glass. A moment of silence lapsed, heavy with unspoken things. Emma's heart beat louder, as if it could bridge the distance between them. She couldn't take her eyes from Jack's. Every flicker of his expression was captivating. Yet, uncertainty clawed at her. Was this too much too soon? Suddenly, the cafe door burst open, and a gust of wind swept in, sending a chill through the otherwise warm room. A family entered, laughter trailing behind them, children in tow, buzzing with energy. It startled Emma back to the reality of her own life, the busy mornings, the obligations, the fears. She was reminded of Tommy waiting at home. She began, but Jack interrupted. Hey, wait. Remember your invitation to hike? He asked eagerly. That could be the perfect way to ease back into life outside of work, and all that responsibility. Emma hesitated. The idea of blending her world sent a wave of anxiety coursing through her. Could she really spend a day with someone like Jack? Someone who seemed free, confident, and full of dreams? I can't leave Tommy for a day. We could make it work. It could be fun. Plus, it would give you time for yourself, something you must crave, he encouraged softly, meeting her gaze with sincerity. She wanted that. The thought of stepping outside herself for a while, of feeling alive instead of just existing, tugged at her heartstrings. But I don't know. Emma felt a knot in her stomach. Shouldn't she prioritize her responsibilities? Jack leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. You deserve a break, Emma. You can always find time. We'll fit it around your schedule. I promise it won't be a burden. Was that a glimmer of hope she noticed in his eyes? There was an undeniable pull drawing her into the possibility, a singular moment where she could exist as more than just a mother or an employee. She could rediscover her essence. All right, she finally replied, heart racing. I'll consider it. The smile that broke over Jack's face was contagious. But before she could bask in this newfound little spark, a question tumbled unbidden from her lips. So, you never told me what you do that lets you call yourself successful. His laughter echoed softly, yet something in his demeanor shifted, darkness threatening to sidle back into his features. That's a story for another time, I think. Let's just say, it involves some ups and downs. The intrigue deepened again, and just as Emma opened her mouth to respond, Jack's phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. As he glanced at the screen, his expression changed. The lightness faded. "I need to take this," he said, suddenly serious, standing up as he glanced toward the cafe exit. "I'll be right back." As he walked away, Emma couldn't help but wonder. Was his success what he wanted it to be? Or was there a heaviness he was desperately trying to shake? And more importantly, would she have the courage to uncover the layers of this person who had unexpectedly sparked something within her? Would the next step they took together bring her closer to the truth, or push her further away? The small cafe buzzed with chatter as the aroma of warm cocoa temporarily dimmed the storm brewing inside Emma's heart. Watching Jack step outside, his figure cast against the dim light, she felt a wave of unease wash over her. This connection, this unspoken bond they had gently nurtured, it suddenly felt fragile. Jack had opened up about his past, and yet, here he was again, retreating behind the walls of a phone call. What secrets lingered behind those warm eyes? Just then, her phone buzzed again in her pocket, jolting her back to reality. It was Tommy's school number once more. She bit her lip, anxiety curling in her stomach like a tight knot. It was no good, she couldn't keep avoiding the reality of her life. Jack had offered to help Tommy, and she had to be ready to accept that help, whether it felt comfortable or not. If sensing her thoughts, Jack returned, a shadow of concern in his expression. "Everything okay?" Emma hesitated, wanting to say yes but also feeling the weight of worry pin down her words. "It's just my phone. I'm worried about Tommy." Jack stepped closer, the warmth of his presence a soothing balm to her frazzled nerves. "You're doing everything you can. I know it's hard, but don't wear yourself out. You don't have to do it alone." She looked into his eyes, those depths that saw more than surface-level problems. "Then let me ask you this," she blurted out, suddenly bold. "Why do you really want to help us? Is it out of pity, or is there something more?" Surprise flickered in Jack's gaze. "I told you before, it's not pity. I see potential in you, Emma. You're resilient, but it's clear you're struggling. I want to be part of the solution, not the problem." The sincerity in his voice melted some of her reservations. Maybe he genuinely cared. Maybe this was his own way of rewriting his story, offering help where he had once felt lost. I want to believe that," she replied, feeling her heart open just a bit more. "That's all we need," he said softly, giving a small smile. "Let us take one step at a time. How about we reach out to Tommy's school together? You don't have to face this on your own." Emma nodded slowly, a flicker of hope igniting. She felt a surge of courage wash over her, urging her to take that plunge into trust. "All right, let us do it together." As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Emma realized that her heart was starting to peel back layers of fear. Maybe she could invite Jack into her world to allow their lives to entwine just a little more. They left the cafe, the distant laughter of children echoing around them. They stepped toward the future, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Each step felt lighter than the last, as if they were walking on the promise of new beginnings. At the school, they received a warm welcome from Mrs. Sanders, who sat down with them in a brightly lit office filled with art and photographs of smiling children. "Thank you for coming in," she said, her demeanor genuinely appreciative. The conversation flowed easily, and with Jack alongside her, Emma felt bolstered. She elaborated on Tommy's struggles, empowered by the knowledge that she wasn't alone in finding help for him. As they worked out a plan, Jack interjected ideas and reflections, building a supportive atmosphere. The weight of uncertainty began to lift. With Jack's presence, it felt easier to navigate through the difficult conversations and embrace the need for intervention and understanding. They even began brainstorming potential extracurricular activities to channel Tommy's protective nature into something positive. Afterward, Emma looked at Jack, her heart swelling with gratitude. "You really helped today. I couldn't have done it without you." He smiled, that spark in his eyes returning. "It's what friends are for. You've got a great spirit, Emma. Let it shine." They shared a comfortable silence, words unspoken, each knowing there was something beautiful unfolding between them. As they walked out of the school hand in hand, a new chapter began. Emma felt her heart expand with hope. Shimmering in the dusk. They didn't have all the answers yet, but they were choosing this path together. Jack turned to her, his voice warm. You know, you could always come hiking with me next weekend, and I promise, everything will feel lighter. Okay, Emma replied, her smile brightening the evening. I'd do like that. As they stepped into the crisp night air, Emma knew that she was letting go of the old fears. She was ready to embrace the unknown, to trust that maybe, just maybe, opening her heart again was the path toward happiness. And with Jack by her side, she felt courage blooming deep in her soul. This connection, this beautiful, unexpected relationship was more than just words inscribed on paper. It was a living, breathing promise of everything life could be. It was time to fully embrace this journey, together. If you've been inspired by this story, here's what you need to do right now. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these powerful actions. You're part of this journey now. Let us grow together.